Hello, crafty friends. My name is Kimberly Smith and I'm the Papered Chef. My mom is creating her second bunny cake, and I thought I would show you how I go about creating the ears for her bunny cake. That is my contribution. Last weekend she created a bunny cake for our church bake sale, and today she's making a bunny cake for the company we're having for our relatives. And later I'm going to show you the finished cakes. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to turn on your ScanNCut. I'm using the SDX 125. And this is going to teach you a few skills that you might not need to make bunny ears like I'm making right now, but it will teach you a few skills, such as creating a score line, adding a score line to a shape, and resizing a shape, and different things like that. So I'm going to go to pattern, and to make the bunny ears, I'm going to go to these shapes here, and I'm going to scroll down. Each time it beeps, I'm on a new page. I think there's 5 or 6 pages. There we go. When you get to this shape here called BA-A095, you're going to click on that shape, and it kind of looks like the inside of an eye. Now, what we're going to do is resize this shape. I want this bunny ear to be 6 inches high and 2.5 wide. If you select this button, then when you change the height and the width, they will not be in proportion to each other. So that's what I want. I want to change these numbers independently. So we're going to go ahead and make the ears 6 inches high. Okay, 6 by 2.5 wide. And that was just an experiment from last weekend when I was playing with this. And here's what that will look like. Okay, so, oops, I meant to do that. 2.5. Because you want big, wide ears, but we're going to also put a little square line in. Now, even though I want 2 ears, I'm going to now show you something fun. And that's going to be how to, you could duplicate it here and make 2 of these shapes, but I think it would be fun to create a score line for your ear. So let's just move the ear around just to show you that's the ear. Now we want to add a score line so that you can fold the ears. Now, if you didn't do this, then you have to fold the ears manually. So in other words, with your hands. And I think it's harder, especially after you laminate the ears. You want to laminate them if you're putting them on a cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another shape, and I'm going to add a pattern. And to create a score line, you're going to go to the one called Borders. It's right here. Scroll down. All the way to the bottom. And here's the score lines. They're just dashed lines. So you're going to just select this dashed line. Okay? B0-B002. I think there was even a couple styles of dashed lines, if I recall. You're going to make it 6 inches wide, because it's going to go on your ear. Exactly 6 inches. No more, no less. And we're going to set that onto the mat. Now what you have is you have a line, a dashed line, and you have an ear, but you have one going horizontally and one going vertically. So you need to rotate this one. We're going to rotate the score line. You could rotate either one, but you want them each to be, you want this score line to be in the middle of the ear. So go to Edit. Well, first you saw that I selected it. It was red. That shows that I selected the object. Now we're going to go to Object Edit, and we're going to use this Rotate button. Okay, Rotate. And we want to rotate this line, the score line, 90 degrees. So now we have a dashed line that is 90 degrees. We can move that around and just click OK. We can move that around independently, and we can move the ear around independently. But it'd be better to first align these objects. So what we want to do is we want to align this score line on top of the ear. Now I could try to do it manually with my stylus, but the better way is just to, I'm going to show you a better way, a more exact way. So what we're going to do is go back to this button here where you can see all these options, and we're going to click on this. This is the selection tool. So select that, and we want to select everything, which is the line and the shape. We're going to select, you're going to use the second selection option, which is selecting everything. We have both objects selected. Click OK, and we're going to now align these objects together. So we're going to click on this little one with the arrows going in all directions, and we're going to click up here to the Align tool, and we're going to align vertically. So now they're aligned perfectly vertically and aligned horizontally. They are perfectly aligned horizontally. So now you have a score line in the middle of your ear, which is awesome. We're going to click OK, and we're going to click OK, and now we're going to go to Object Edit and Group. We want to group these objects so that now we can move this ear around independently. Now, at this point, now that you have one ear, you want to go ahead and get 2 ears, because now that you have the score line on your ear. So go to Object Edit, And where it says plus, you're going to make 2 of the ears. Click OK. And then we're going to move these. We could do some fancy aligning, but we're just going to move them, eyeball them, make sure they're not overlapping. And now we can go ahead and put our cardstock onto our mat. Go ahead and load your mat using the load mat button. That's this button here. Oops, sorry, that's not that button there, that's the pause. All right, we're not re-recording. Here we go. I knew that. This was the load button. It's funny no matter how many times you do something. All right, so now we're gonna take the paper. I'm using what's called Blushing Bride. It's a color, it's a Stampin' Up color of cardstock. It's just a nice pink color I had. Well, it's not a happy pink, but it's a pink color. It's gonna go good with this bunny cake. So here's the Blushing Bride. I'm putting it on there real good. Now I don't need to worry about my side light being on because I didn't do any scanning today. I used built-in objects from the machine. Now normally if I were to scan, I would tell you to turn out any outside lights and things. But we're just gonna go ahead and cut. So we're gonna click OK, select, and cut. So now we're gonna click on start, and it's gonna take a couple minutes to cut. It says 2 minutes, so it takes more than 1, less than 2. So we'll see you in a moment. We'll be back. Okay, it's done. Almost done, should say. What it's trying to do, this is the reason I turned it back on, is it's trying to do a second cut. Okay, it saw how thick the cardstock was, and it's about to try to redo everything. So at this point, you can pause, and you can quit cutting. You don't need to cut that second. I'm just gonna go and quit cutting. I don't need to do a second cut, not on cardstock. I'm gonna click OK. It says, are you sure you wanna quit? Yada, yada, yada. I knew I didn't need to do a second cut because of my experience of working with Stampin' Up cardstock. So I'm just gonna see, I didn't really need to take that long because it doubles the time when it's trying to do a second cut. Go ahead and unload your mat. And before you fold along your score line, I think it's best to just laminate first. You could take these out and fold along your score line, but you're gonna laminate them anyway, and I want them to still be strong. So let's just use my little lamination machine, and I'll link to this in the description. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to find the exact one I'm using, but it's a little creative station, and you can put adhesive in here. Like I just pulled out my adhesive, and now I'm laminating. Pretty cool little machine. But I'm not even sure if they make this anymore, but I'll just show you the equivalent thing that they may make now. So we're gonna put that in there. It's kind of like every teacher must have one of these. And in my case, every crafter. So I just roll it through, and now it's laminated. Why? Because we're making a cake. And by the way, our church, we raised $770 in our bake sale last weekend. And my mom's cake sold like right away. Like a guy came in and said, oh, my grandchildren are visiting this weekend. I'm going to buy that bunny cake. We were selling cakes and pies and things by the whole thing. I purchased cakes, and we donated cakes. Key lime pie is what I purchased, but we also donated. Anyway, so I'm going to now just cut around it, and I just want to show you. You're not going to sit and wait for me to cut, but isn't that awesome? Now it's already scored, as opposed to me trying to fold it myself like I did last time. So my nieces and nephews are here. My niece and nephews, I should say, I'm going to bring in the jelly beans, the Tootsie Roll eggs. I'm going to cut around these ears while they're doing the cake. And I will be back to show you both last weekend's cake for the bake sale and this weekend's bunny cake. So you can see what my mom created. She's like even more creative than I am. I mean, she's super, super creative. And my contribution, like I said, is the bunny ears. I hope you learned some things in this tutorial, such as how to use the built-in patterns or shapes within the machine itself, how to add a score line to a shape, how to align different shapes, how to group shapes, and how to duplicate shapes. The last thing you might want to learn how to do is, if you were to use this pattern again, like what I should have done is save my bunny ears from last weekend, and I wouldn't need to do this again. The way you do that, the way you save things is go back, and when you see the screen here, you click on save, and it asks you where do you want to save your pattern. Do you want to save it to your machine, to the web, this is your Canvas Workspace account, or to a USB stick? I'm going to go ahead and save it to my machine and click OK. And I did have a different pattern saved, but that was just only from today. So now if you were to go use this pattern again, and you're going to click on OK, and you say delete all the patterns, and if you wanted to come back and make whatever shape or pattern you're working with later, you're going to click on retrieve data and go find the pattern from your machine and go to the end and find your bunny ears and cut them again. Okay, so last thing you might want to do with these different things that you create is you might say, "Ooh, they're not the right size. They are too big." I already knew these are the right size, but if they weren't, I might want to go in, Object Edit, and resize. Even after I have saved and retrieved them, I might want to resize. Okay, so that is how to do all those things with your Brother ScanNCut. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're not using an AutoBlade STX 125 and you are cutting Stampin' Up cardstock of any color, I do recommend a blade depth of 5 for this regular Stampin' Up cardstock. It's pretty thick, but if you're just using like basic white or something with the regular cardstock, you can use a blade depth of 4. Get away with that. If you're using Designer Series paper with a little pattern on it, you can get away with a blade depth of 3. That's if you're using a CM machine. Other than that, I'll see you when I show you the cakes, and then I'll sign off at that point. And that's all for this part of this tutorial. Thank you. Here is the bunny cake that my mother made for last weekend's bake sale at my church. And I made the ears with the ScanNCut. And here is the bunny cake she made for Easter. My niece and nephews decorated this cake, and my sister's showing you what it looks like. Marshmallow icing, coconut, and she dyed some of the coconut for the grass. Thank you for watching. This is the Paper Chef. Have a very blessed Easter.